You might have heard of this story recently. According to a study by the Natural Resources Defense Council, 40% of the food in the U.S. goes to waste. Alarming to say the least, but even more so when you take another shocking bit of information into account. The latest survey from Gallup states 1 in 5 Americans can't afford food. So 40% of food goes into the trash, while 1 in 5 Americans go hungry. How is this possible, and what can be done to get this discarded food to the people that really need it? Well, Sasha Lutzi, policy analyst for the Natural Resources Defense Council, joins us now. He's also a contributor. She is a contributor to the NRDC blog Switchboard. Hi there, Sasha. So alarming information you guys put out there. America has always been known as a land of plenty, but considering the economic times that we're in today, people trying to do more with less. What do you make of this statistic?
Well, that's right, Liz. Thanks so much for having me on. So right now, imagine you go to the grocery store and you leave with 3 big bags of groceries and you just drop one in the parking lot and never bother to stop and pick it up. It sounds pretty ridiculous, but that's essentially what's happening in America today. And that's taking a big toll on our economy. It's costing Americans $165 billion every year in food that just goes right into the garbage. For the average American family, that's more than $2,200 every year. And so at a time when a lot of Americans are watching their own budgets, it's tough to believe that every month they're throwing $150 into the garbage, maybe unknowingly.
A really interesting way of describing the picture here, the big picture. In the U.S., we have this mentality that bigger is better. What can be done to change this kind of culture of consumption?
That's right. So the bigger and better mentality is kind of pervasive in our system. So the waste is happening actually throughout the supply chain from the farm all the way to our plates. But the 2 main places where it's happening are in grocery stores and then on the consumer end, so in restaurants and in our kitchens. So in grocery stores, I'm sure you've gone in and you've seen these big piles of fruits and vegetables. So the grocery stores want to create this impression of abundance. But what that actually means is that a lot of those fruits and vegetables are spoiling before they ever get bought and eaten by anyone. Fruits and vegetables are actually what gets wasted most. Over half of what we grow never get eaten. They just spoil and get thrown away. In our own kitchens, a lot of times, we're tempted to buy in bulk. I like to use a good rule of thumb, only buy what you'll eat and eat what you buy. That's a good way of sort of shopping smart. But unfortunately, a lot of grocery stores offer, bigger packages, and it seems like you're saving money, but really if all that money is going into the garbage can, it's actually taking a big hit on your wallet. And at restaurants, I don't know if your viewers realize this, but portion sizes have really gotten out of control. They've just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. The average portion size now is over 8 times what the government recommends. And
Wow.
so, you go when you eat out at a restaurant and you just can't physically consume that much food. And so a lot of it goes right into the garbage.
Yeah, a lot of it goes into the garbage and people try to eat what's there. And now we're seeing this obesity epidemic here. So it's a problem on many fronts. Meanwhile, 1 in 5 Americans can't afford the food, any food, or, not enough food. And that's a pretty stark contrast to what you just described. And now we are in this situation. We just had this devastating drought. So, what are the outlook for food availability? What's that looking like?
Well, a really interesting finding of our report is that just a 15% reduction in the food that's wasted in America could feed 25 million Americans. And what you're saying is absolutely correct. Today, 1 in 6 Americans are actually food insecure, which means they can't afford, on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to make sure that they have the food that they need. So there's lots of things that the grocery stores and individuals can be doing to try and reduce some of this food waste. We have lots of great tips in our report. I'd like to see restaurants start offering smaller portions, and all of us as consumers, when we go out to eat, we can actually start asking for smaller portions. We can take that food home in doggy bags. And like I was saying, we can shop smart. We can plan our meals ahead of time. We can use our freezers. Almost everything can be frozen. And another great finding in this report, I wasn't aware of this. I'm not sure if your viewers are aware of this, but all those sell-by and best-by dates, those are actually not federally regulated, except for some baby products. So what they really are just a manufacturer's recommendation for the peak quality of that product. But what we've been telling people is use your nose, put your food to a smell test to judge whether it's gone bad, and hopefully save yourself some money.
Now, we can do our part to try to prevent wasting food, but how do we get this food that is wasted, and there's so much of it, into the hands or the mouths of the people that really need it?
So there's lots of things that we can do, and some of this has already started. A lot of restaurants have started donating food to food banks. We also see that on the farm, a lot of times food gets discarded just because the price that the farmer would get paid for it is actually not enough to cover their cost of labor. So instead, we're seeing some organizations that will bring people into the farm and actually have them harvest some of those fruits and vegetables and take them to food banks. It's kind of a win-win. The farmer doesn't have to discard that food, and sometimes they get a tax break, and that food can go to people who need it.
All right, very interesting. A very stark contrast there. Hopefully people can stop wasting and start giving, I guess. Thank you so much for coming on the show. That was Sasha Lutzi, policy analyst for the Natural Resources Defense Council. She's also a contributor to the NRDC blog Switchboard.